wellness. I'm your host, Coach Monica. I'm joined today by Coach Darcy, and we are here to guide you through the ins and outs of a lifestyle that's transformed not just our lives, but the lives of countless women navigating the waves of perimenopause and menopause. Whether you're here to shed weight, understand your body better, or simply find a community that gets it, you're in the right place. So sit back and enjoy the next few minutes as we tackle the hot issues of today. Good morning. It is good to see you, Coach.
Good morning.
You're looking fabulous.
Good
You
to
took your
see
green
you.
jacket off. You had your green jacket on
I did.
earlier.
I might put it back on because now I'm cold.
Okay. Well, you
I
looked good
did.
because we got a
It
green
was making a lot of
background
noise.
if you are watching us live.
Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
your jacket and
It
my
was-
dog's tippy tap toes on the floor and slurping up water. We're going to be great sound makers today. So welcome to our podcast. Welcome to our live.
Yes.
It is good to see everybody this morning. If you are listening to us live, we want to welcome you and ask you to share this podcast so it makes it out to the World Wide Web. And if you're listening to us on podcast, welcome. It's been a great year. This is actually February 20th. And it's February 18th right now. February 20th is when we launched our first podcast. So we have our 1 year podcast anniversary. So we love doing what we do. We love getting
anniversary.
We love getting messages out, and it looks like what we have today is some internet delay. I know that because of how quickly Darcy laughed at my joke. We're glad to see everybody this morning. Oh, it's about a 3-second delay. So I'm going to have to put that in my head as we record this. So, hey, last week we started kind of a mini series. I don't know how long it'll go, however long we feel like making it go. But we are passionate about making weight loss work, and we're passionate about long-term weight loss. And so we really specialize in our coaching. We specialize in what is called food addiction, sugar addiction, carbohydrate addiction. And we are tapping my dog. If you can't see me live, there's a playground happening in the back. If you're watching us live, the show's provided for you. 2 great dates in a small little office here is not a recipe for success. But we believe in long-term weight loss because you can lose weight these days with about $6,000. You know, you can get on the shot, you can spend about $6,000, and you can lose weight very quickly. Ozempic, the GLP-1s, all of those things allow you to lose weight very quickly. The problem is, and as health practitioners, we listen to what our colleagues are saying. I'm really in tune and I'm really zoned in right now, particularly to what food addiction specialists are saying, because that's where our passion is. That's what we do every day. And we believe in successful treatment. We believe in healing, right? And so we're listening to what's happening around us. I'm listening to specifically the food addiction specialists, and we've got to get our message. We've got to get our head wrapped around what do these GLP-1s mean in the food addiction world. And granted, there is a place for them. There's a reason why some people may find them beneficial. But the long-term effects have us all very, very deeply concerned. And we'll do a show on this, as we wrap our heads around what our wording, what our language is going to be around this. I can't shake off, and Coach Darcy, you work with clients with me every day. We can't shake off the impact of food addiction. We can't. A lot of
Right.
people in the GLP world are excited about, yay, this takes the food noise away. This is going to help food addiction, specialists. This is going to help them in their treatment plans. And so I think I've told our audience that I tried it. I wanted to see what this GLP-1 was in comparison to the ketogenic diet, in comparison to carnivore. And I cannot express to you enough the bad side of it. Not that it didn't make me lose 20 pounds, but that when I stopped the GLP-1, the food noise, and granted, I had already been in a life change. I had already changed my diet to the ketogenic diet. I was, dabbling in carnivore. When that food noise came back, it was the most uncomfortable, torturous thing I had ever been through. And I was already keto. Most people who go on these GLP-1s don't change their lifestyle. Some do. Most people don't. And you can't. In their defense, you can't because you can't eat. So you can't legitimately feel what food does to your body. You can't legitimately feel that sugar because your food noise and that craving is gone. So in their defense, they can't change their lifestyle. Had I not already done it, I couldn't have done it. I see food differently now. I see food as cancer causing, I see food as different. I see food in enemy terms, right? So I had already changed my life. And I'm going to bring you in here in a second, Darce. So just so you know, you got 3 seconds for warning here for the internet delay. I had already changed my life. I had already lost the weight. I did things right, and that food noise was torturous. And so when it comes to GLP-1 and addiction, I hope they can prove me wrong. I see so much failure in front of us that it breaks my heart. Because when you come off of this GLP-1, now a lot of people go into it thinking they're going to be on it for life, right? And granted, they may. But we don't know what's going to happen in the laws. We don't know what's going to happen with insurance. We don't know what's going to happen with the compound pharmacies that everybody's going over to. So you cannot predict that you're going to be on it for life. You also can't get rid of the side effects of pancreatitis and of thyroid cancer and of going blind. Those are real. So you got to have a backup plan. And that's what Coach Darcy and I are going to talk about today. And Darcy, I want to bring you into the conversation because I'm tired of talking, and because I want you to kind of introduce to our audience. We talked about why we do keto as a treatment plan, right? We talked about that last week. We do keto as a treatment plan because it is a natural GLP-1, because our clients who are on a GLP-1 or anyone have that feeling of no food noise. So that's why we use that in food addiction. The second thing that we do, the thing that we bring in is called the 12-step. It's the Overeaters. It's the AA 12-step program. And we found it to be successful in so many of our clients. Now, I will later on in the show talk about the dangers of having a sponsor, the dangers that we have found in our practice of this. But Darcy, I want you to talk. We're going to just specifically kind of narrow this down. We're not going to go through all 12 steps. Maybe that will be the series. But go through when you have a client that's a food addict. And I deal with most of the food addiction treatment center here, but you deal with it every day because 1 out of every 3 clients of ours is a food addict. They just haven't admitted it yet. So you have to kind of introduce, you have to kind of get yourself into the food addiction world. And you are in our food addiction support group on Monday nights. Talk to us about what happens when you get a client who comes to you for weight loss, but you know is a food addict, and you are wanting to introduce them to this second portion of our treatment plan, which is the first step. We're not going to go through all 12 because we'd give away our program. Talk about step 1 and why step 1 is so important for our clients to get through after they become abstinent. We don't start the 12 steps till they're abstinent. That's the first thing which we talked about last week. But then we go into step 1. Can you talk us through step 1? and what that involves.
So so step 1 is I like to, tie it together with our old program too. It's not old, it's just but our program of having a why. Like, why do you even want to change? Why do you want to get metabolically healthy? Why do you feel like you need to lose weight? Uh, that is usually the motivation behind the weight loss. And sometimes that just doesn't work because people are so focused on just portion and getting into that swimsuit that I mean, there's going to be zero change long term for them. And we see that. But we first have to admit that we are powerless over food and that food is like when you're constantly thinking next what's in my fridge even after you've had a meal like even if you have been in my case even if you've been keto for going on 5 years that has a control over you. So you have to admit powerless over that. And hopefully my internet is clear enough. But
Mhm.
that is when
You're good, coach.
we see that people are are uh, serious about okay. And I just recently
Mhm.
realized that I personally having an issue even with the ketogenic foods of not being able to just have one. There was no moderation in my food intake, even if it was keto, even if it was a vegetable, even if it was um something that was healthy for me. I did not have that full button. I did not
Mhm.
have moderation. Um, and I knew that I thought there was something wrong and I didn't want to admit it. And so it took me that long to kind of figure out like, wait a minute, wrong here. Like I thought I had things
Mhm.
under control. Um, but I am not only gaining weight because I can't just have one, um, but I'm thinking about it nonstop.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel
Well,
like
and
those are some
Darcy,
good telltale signs that, that there is no sorry,
yeah.
there's that delay.
Yeah. No, we're getting good at getting that 3-second delay there. Typically when we're not live, I'll go like this, like this, and you get a signal, or you tell me, but we're live now, so I mean, we could still do that. So we totally could. But in the first step, there
Yeah,
are
you didn't
two.
do that.
I didn't, no, because we're live. So there's 2 steps to step 1, and it's admitting that we're powerless over food. But the second part of that is that our lives had become unmanageable. You see, I'm going to read right out of our curriculum that we use with our clients. In a way, we learn that a lack of willpower isn't what makes us compulsive eaters. In fact, compulsive eaters often exhibit exceptional amount of willpower. But compulsive eating is an illness that cannot be controlled by willpower. None of us decided to have this disorder any more than we have decided to have any other disease. And now we can stop blaming ourselves and others for compulsive eating. So, what do you, and I'm throwing this one at you, and I'll have one in backup, but the second part of that is where our clients really, it's easy to say, I don't have any willpower over this cookie, right? I don't have any willpower. My life, I'm powerless over food. But that second part is very important to the healing process. And it says that our lives have become unmanageable. We see this
Mhm.
every day with our clients. Can you give us some examples of how our lives have become unmanageable?
Yeah, like we have this constantly filled up. We have our kids that we put. Yes, it's important to just a disclaimer. It's important to put our kids first because they're our kids. But it's when
Yes.
our lives revolve around their schedule and
Mhm.
your schedule, and then there's other people acting, and you have a hard time saying no. That is a typical issues that make us not have it manageable. um,
Mhm. We're good fakers.
and I don't know what's it. I'm trying to think of another one. Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. We become fakers. I think part of that is maybe, and maybe I don't know. Is this a women thing? Like, do you think? I think men may display this a little bit differently, but I know as a woman working in a man's world, I remember when the congresswoman told me, looked me in the face and said, "Don't you dare cry in front of people. Don't you dare act weak in front of people." And something happened to me at that moment that I became what I had to force myself into, being superwoman. And you know, being a mama right now, living with the crazy, insane schedule that you do with your boys, you become superwoman. And that forces you into,
Mhm.
could force you into what they're saying. My life has become unmanageable. We must be on a
Right.
5-second delay right now.
I know it's getting longer and longer.
God
Oh my
bless
gosh.
technology.
Um,
I know. I could tell your head was
yes.
nodding a little bit slower than normal. Oh, you know what? We just got to go with it. It is technology. It is
Yeah.
what it is.
So yes. I think so basically with the schedule of kids, we easily put our kids and our schedules ahead of everything and constantly have every hour filled. But that's where you become about not being able to breathe, and not being able to turn it down. It's kind of like when we eat, a Snickers bar for the first time. We can't just, after a while, if we're a sugar addict, you can't just have one. You've got to have more and more and more, and you become addicted to your schedule. You become addicted to how much there is on your schedule, and that when there's a day where you have absolutely nothing to do, you're going to plan for something on that schedule because there's space for
Mhm.
it. So
Mhm.
you also then become addicted to the amount of things to do on your schedule. How to
Mhm.
manage yourself in another way at all because you're so used to having a utterly chaotic schedule. I'm not
Yeah.
sure off the top of my head if I can think of another option at
I've got one.
this moment
I've got one for you
because
right
of how
here.
the internet's making my brain.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I've got one right here. And this would apply to men because we were wondering, how does this unmanageableness look? I mean, it's very easy when you're in AA, it's very easy to see, okay, this is how alcohol, would make my life unmanageable, or this is how I'm powerless over alcohol because it's a drug, it's a chemical. The why food addiction and sugar addiction is the last house on the block is because we have to eat, and it is not accepted in the real world yet, that we have this thing called food, sugar, carbohydrate, ultra processed food addiction. It's not accepted yet because it's still cool to go out with your friends. It's still cool. You got to eat. And our whole entire lifestyle revolves around children. I was driving home today. This is a side note. I was driving home today and I was just getting angry at the fact that how many children, I'm going into an RFK moment in a Callie Means moment. How many children have type 2 diabetes, and how we say this is just a disease? No, parents give this to them. Adults give this disease to to these children. It makes me mad. I was driving home and I'm like, it's child abuse. We have the power to stop type 2 diabetes in children, and we don't. We just keep handing them more little debbies. We keep handing them more pasta. We keep handing them all of these things. It's our fault. But here is where maybe, this applies to women too, but maybe this is how unmanageable looks to for a food addict to a man. For the first time in our lives, we recognized, acknowledged, and accepted the truth about ourselves. We are compulsive eaters. We do have an incurable disease. Here it goes. Diabetics who need to be on insulin risk blindness and possible death unless they recognize the truth of their diabetic condition, accept it, and take the prescribed medication. That's an example of someone whose life has become unmanageable, and they have no choice but to fix it or to die. Oh, I gave myself a thumbs up on this. We can't have sound, but we can have emojis that give us the thumbs up. Apologize, y'all. I apologize for that. But realizing the truth of our disease, of the diabetes, that is an example of someone whose life has become unmanageable and they are powerless over food. And so, frankly, in this diet age, you can't do anything to change it until until you've done step one. We can't do anything with a client. Most clients who come to us, uh, for they know that they're food addicts, but they come to us for weight loss. They are very, very successful until they hit maintenance, and then once they hit maintenance, their lives fall apart if they have not dealt with the food addiction. And so it is
Mhm.
critical, and we are just begging folks to say, hey, food addiction is a reality and you've got to get it under control or it will rule the rest of your life, just like alcohol, just like AA. And so that's what we do when we put a client who comes to us for food addiction, who has recognized the fact that they are food addicts, we get them on an abstinence program, period. You cannot do any of our work until you're abstinent. And you can be abstinent and not in recovery. That's a big one for our clients. You can be
Mhm.
abstinent and not have bought into the fact that we're powerless over food, that we have come to believe that a power greater than ourselves can help us, that we've made a decision to turn our will, and on down in the 12 steps. You can be an abstinent without recovery, but you will not have healing when you do that.
Yeah.
Darcy, what are your thoughts?
Yes. So, we talked about last night, we were on step 6, and I was just thinking about how, it seems interesting how step 6 is step 6 and not a part of step 1. Because not only do we have that we are powerless over food, but then we have to be entirely ready to remove all that. If we're not entirely ready to remove all that, how are we going to move forward with that? So I think that step 6 ties really well with one and being able to multitask with doing both of them, because it's easy to say, yeah, I'm a food addict, and not doing anything about it. Yeah, you can do all the homework and you can get all giddy and ready and do all the things all at once, and then yet you're still overwhelming yourself with doing everything all at once versus then, actually taking your time and doing it and admitting that, like, yeah, I can't do all this on my own. I need guidance. I need to have this that, yeah, I'm powerless, but now I have to do something about it. And that's we talk about, that's surrendering it all by the
Mm-hmm.
higher power. Um but yeah, they just tie in together, and you can do all the work 1 through 5 and then get to still not be completely 100% convinced that you are a food addict or that you need this
Mm-hmm.
program. Um, there's a lot of work. And for me, I didn't realize how much work and how much I uncovered doing, all of these steps. I'm a journal nut. Like, I journal everything. I'm a type 4 on the Enneagram. I would like to know everything about myself and how I work. And I know that's not everybody, and not everybody likes to journal,
That
Dear
scares me.
Diary, but for me, it helps me get out of I know. And once you do that, you're cleaning out your junk closet. Like, people don't like to clean out their junk closet because you find scary things in there and you uncover scary things. But by golly, like, you wanted knowing that maybe I'm a food addict, but then once you start to do the other steps and you start to uncover things, you're like, yeah, I see these signs. I see this in me. And I wrote it
Yeah.
down a long time ago and I read it back to myself and I'm like, holy cow, like, is that is tried and true, and started to be uncovered about myself that I did not see for a really long time. Which I'm excited that if
Mm-hmm.
we're doing this as a series, like, I'm excited to, go through each of these steps. But
Yeah.
um the
Well,
I
healing
think the
hurts.
biggest thing
Surgery
that
hurts.
people I did not see your finger.
Yeah.
I did not see your finger.
Well, you think about it in the terms of surgery. Surgery hurts.
Mhm.
When you cut into your body and you're doing it for the sake of healing, it hurts to have surgery. But you don't want the surgeon to stop, you know, step 2. You don't want him to stop and say, "Oh, well, this hurts my patient too bad. Let's just close her back up." We want them to get the cancer out of us. And so many of our clients come and they get to step 4 and they're like, "Oh, wait a minute. This one, I don't want to go there. I don't want to open that can of worms. I don't want to," or they could even get to the abstinence part and say, "Well, you're crazy." I had a sponsor, a bad sponsor for one of our clients one time tell us that, she was an intuitive eating. You can't tell your client she can't eat that. Come on. How do you do that when it comes to alcohol? You can't tell your sponsee that he can have a beer every once in a while. No, you cut it off. And so a lot of people get to step 4 and they're like, "Oh, this hurts too bad. I don't want to do this." And we lose a lot of people at step 1. We lose a lot, or I mean, sorry, at step 4, because then you've got to admit to yourselves, you got to do a searching, fearless moral inventory of yourself and discover, "Oh my gosh, my food addiction started way back here." Or, that's when the trauma comes up. That's when junk comes up. But if you stopped at step 3, we made a decision to turn our will and lives over to the care of God. You stop there. That's like surgery stopping right before you got to the cancer and saying, "Oh, I see cancer in there. I don't want to look at that cancer. I'm going to sew her back up." That's the problem with incomplete healing. And that
Mm.
is the number one problem. And this is why I love my colleagues on the field on food addiction. This is why I can't jump into the boat of Ozempic is a great thing. I can't do that yet. And it's a really cool thing because as a CEO of a company that is built around weight loss, and we have this tool, we could use this tool. Weight Watchers did it. They sold their souls out to this drug company because it buffed their numbers. It made their numbers look like they were helping their clients lose weight when in the fact the drug was doing it. And so it is not a very popular stance. And I have to formally say there's a place for those drugs. Okay, yeah. But I cannot in good conscience, and I've got some heroes over on the food addiction world. I got some heroes over there. I love them. They give their lives for but I can't crawl into the boat of saying food addiction is going to help people with addiction. No, it doesn't. Because you haven't done the work, you haven't done the hard things. You may have changed your lifestyle a little bit, but you have not done the steps for complete healing. And that's just like doing surgery, seeing the cancer in the body, sewing them up and going, that's what that's what the Ozempic does. It gives you a fake weight loss because when you stop the drug, the weight comes raging back doubly. And everybody's like, "Oh, it's not doubly." Yeah, it's doubly. We've done the math. We've done the calories. I've lived on it. I've lived it. I know what it's like. So that's why the weight is raging back. That's why I cannot. And again, I reserve the right to change my mind. I'm the owner of the company. I can change our minds, Darcy. I can't. I can't do it because it doesn't work. Addiction is real.
Right.
Food addiction. How do you know food addiction's real? How's it worked for you in the past? How many diets have you tried? How many diets have you tried, Darcy? You've done at least
Oh, I feel like I've been
29.
on a diet my whole life.
Yeah.
I feel like it's nonstop. I mean, if it's not a physical item that I'm consuming, it's a mental abuse that's
Uh-huh.
happening in my head. So
Yeah.
it's a nonstop.
Yeah. Yeah. Diets don't work. What works is healing and healing brutally. And it's hard. It is so hard. I empathize with I empathize. We are in the middle right now of a season in our food addiction treatment center. We're in a really hard season. You know, togetherness, we are to step 6. Okay. And everybody's on a different step. But our coaching sessions are hard because it's hard to deal with addiction. Addiction is evil. And it's very, very hard to deal with that. And the frustrating thing is we have a couple of clients who don't really have a weight problem. Um, but they are food addicts. And when you don't have a weight problem and you don't care to see that scale go down, it's extremely hard. The thing that helps us in the addiction world is when the scale is moving for our clients, because then they see, okay, I see this physical thing happening. It's very hard when you don't have that scale. Go ahead,
I'm a
coach.
fiend rep.
Go for it. I see it.
I would say, kind of going based on how hard things are and how we like to rush through things and how there's no moderation for somebody that's a food addict. Advice is going going slowly. A lot of times
Mhm.
in the utter chaos of our world, we like the convenience of just instantly being thin. We like the convenience of instant, food. We like the convenience of just something right here, right now. Even if we're desperate, we're willing to do whatever it is. My advice and why I'm pushing this of saying when you are trying out for if you feel like you are a food addict and you want to doing overeaters and our steps in our program, taking it slow is not a bad idea because when you take it slow,
Mhm.
you're going to be able to hash out what's on your mind now, but then you're going to be taking it slow. I'm gonna go back here to step one, even though I'm on step four. I'm gonna go back to step one, and I'm gonna add
Mhm.
things. I'm gonna add things to
Mhm.
what I uncovered here over in step four. You take things slowly, you start to uncover stuff and not be overwhelmed with those things, but take it on as, okay, now I'm going to tackle this thought and this moment and this situation that came up, and now I can work on this
Mhm.
one. We
Yeah.
just don't have to rush of
Mhm.
healing, and we're eventually going to get to that, or every time that we do that, the more and more free we become. We've become free and empowered
Mhm.
by our abilities to what we can't have, our boundaries. And that's what we
Right.
need to do is we need to build those boundaries through our schedule, through what we eat, through the people that we talk to. Boundaries are good. You don't have to do everything. So that would be one thing. Is when you do this, don't
Mhm.
expect fast and quick results. Expect to go slow.
Yeah.
Expect to
Yeah.
take things on little by little. Even if you have a lot to uncover and know you have a lot to uncover, we're going to still just take by little, just like our buddy
Mhm.
James Clear talks about.
Yeah. One of our in one of our sessions yesterday, our amazing guy in there, who was in AA, said it took him 3 years to get 6 months sobriety. You know, it's the same with food addiction. It is the same thing. So you have to be patient with yourself. You have to not give yourself excuses. A lot of people give themselves excuses and they fall into that diet talk again of, oh, oh, I should have changed what I ate there. And then they don't actually change. So you got to be tough on yourself, but you also have to give yourself grace. And so we're going to close up this podcast, this live this morning, and we're going to try something. If you see us come back on Facebook, we're going to try something with our streaming service to see if it's actually our service provider that's giving us troubles, or if it is the interwebs. So if you see us pop back on live again, we'll put on another show for you. But as for the podcast, we're gonna land the plane safely. There was just another plane crash yesterday. So we're going to land the plane safely, and we're going to tell you if you need help, if you are struggling with food addiction, if this is you, if we are speaking your language, don't do it alone. You need help. Come check out our food addiction treatment center. I have created a brand new program so that it is more affordable, where you meet with me one-on-one, you meet with a coach one-on-one, and you join into our overeaters support group, as well as it's 3 months versus 18. Now, in order for whole healing to take place, I need you for 18 months. Coach Darcy needs you for 18 months, but we have made it a little bit more affordable for you. So don't struggle alone. Do what you can, and then say, you know what, can't do it. I can't do it alone anymore. And that's where we're here to help you. So we're here every Tuesday morning, 11 a.m. Typically, we are on the same wavelength on the interwebs. Today, we're just a few set. It reminds me of TV when they're afraid that the people are going to cuss, and so they have to put them on a 7-second delay. That's the way it feels like having a co-host on here today. I gotta watch her because her language,
Yes.
and just in case we need
so
to
true.
bloop her. All right, Coach. We will see you next Tuesday morning. She's just getting the
Yes.
7-second delay. Oh gosh. We will see you next Tuesday morning at 11 a.m. Have a great day, everyone. Hey, it's Coach Monica here. Guess what? If you're fed up with feeling stuck in your battle with weight or food, I've got something just for you. Check out our free Facebook groups. Over at Food Addiction and Recovery, I'm over there waiting for you. We're going to walk this journey together. It's about getting real, sharing our stories, and lifting each other up. We're in this together every step of the way. And if you're curious about changing your life with keto, the Weight Loss Project is where you want to be. Coach Darcy is amazing. And together, we're not just talking about losing weight. We're talking about finding a happier, healthier you. So, what do you say? Are you ready to join us? The links are in the show notes below, and I'm telling you, this is more than an invite. It is the start of something great. We cannot wait to see you over there.